Have you ever wondered why the most influential story in the world isn't Harry Potter, Star Wars, or The Capital, which solved exactly one questionable idea for 1,000 pages? No. The most influential is the story of a guy from Nazareth who had no personal brand and no TikTok. Hi, I'm Tatyana Voloshyn, career coach, narrative strategist, and founder of Unidelics, where we blend mushrooms, myth, and modern identity work. This channel is for people who think deeply and want their careers to match the complexity of their inner world. If you're intellectually curious, allergic to mediocrity, and ready to make meaning work for you, you're in the right place. And yes, I read books on Christianity, not because I'm looking for God. If I had to fill out a religious survey, I'd probably check crypto Buddhist and move on. But Jesus is the most effective B2C campaign in the history of civilization. Over the past year, I read 8 books on the history of Christianity. 7 of them were by Bart Ehrman. And I wasn't searching for salvation. I was studying branding. You see, most of my clients show up at crossroads. Some are launching small empires, jewelry lines, real estate firms, online schools, indie pharma, new albums. Others are corporate veterans with 20 years of experience and an existential spreadsheet. They realize that the job title on LinkedIn isn't a story. Their resume doesn't explain who you are. And whether you're team startup or team senior executive, everyone hits the same brick wall. How do I talk about myself? Not just how I sell, but how do I transmit essence? How do I explain why I exist without sounding like a TED Talk or a personal injury commercial? Once upon a time, we had HR, recruiters, communication teams. Now you're your own marketing department, PR team, brand voice, and user interface. That's when panic comes. I don't know how to sell myself. I hate social media. I have too much experience. I don't know what actually matters about me. Sound familiar? So I started asking, who did it best? Who built a brand so powerful it survived centuries of edits, wars, scandals, translations, and still sells out stadiums every Sunday? Not Apple, not Starbucks, not even Taylor Swift. And the Oscar for the best global branding and eternal customer retention goes to Christianity. It started as an apocalyptic startup with 200 subscribers and 1 publicly executed founder, and then scaled into the official ideology of the Roman Empire with merch, franchises, global distribution, loyal user base of 2 billion, and a content strategy still outperforming yours. Christianity evolved from tiny underground movement into a global brand with ironclad visual identity. Even people who think that Old Testament is a prequel to Dune still recognize the cross. The slogan game is strong. Love thy neighbor is smooth enough to belong to a tote bag. And the content marketing still converting. At this point, it's not even a religion. It's a 2,000-year-old brand platform with a killer pitch deck. The book we're talking about today is From Jesus to Constantine, The History of Early Christianity by Bart Ehrman, professor, best-selling author, and a calm agnostic Gandalf of religious history. Ehrman grew up in Kansas, where he didn't question the Bible, he memorized it. He believed deeply. He sang hymns, went to church, felt the glow. Then he enrolled at Moody Bible Institute, where the Bible isn't interpreted, it's obeyed. At that point, he still thought the Gospels were verbatim journalism. Then came Princeton. At Princeton, Ehrman met a whole new idea. You could read the Bible as literature, with context, with editors, with footnotes. He learned that John didn't know Luke, that Paul wrote before those from the original dozen, and that grammar can cause a full-blown theological crisis. And Ehrman converted out. He didn't become an enemy of belief, he became its observer. He watched how faith becomes dogma, dogma becomes canon, and canon forgets it was ever a story. Now he's a professor at UNC, a best-selling author, and a master of explaining complicated things with warmth and wit. I suggest you listen to this book. I listened to it on Audible, and Professor's voice is very calm and engaging. From Jesus to Constantine isn't a textbook, it's a roadmap. How an idea becomes a story, how a story becomes power, how it all starts with one man and a very confused marketing department. On the surface, it's a history of Christianity's first 3 centuries. But really, it's a startup case study. A tale of messy ideation, brutal competition, accidental virality, and brand consolidation. Christianity didn't start as a religion. It was a chaotic spiritual Reddit thread. No funding, no PR strategy, just vibes. And a few stubborn Greek philosophers yelling at clouds. Ehrman makes it clear. Early Christianity was not a unified thing. It was a hot mess. Competing ideologies, wild regional dramas, the real housewives of Judea. And the ones who won weren't the holiest, were not Jesus' BFFs. They were the ones who controlled the narrative, the ones who edited, the ones who wrote the press release after the product launch. They weren't just apostles, they were copywriters. And now we get to Paul. Paul didn't walk with Jesus, he didn't witness the miracles, he wasn't there for the Last Supper, he was the guy trying to shut it all down. His original name was Saul, and he was a well-educated Pharisee with a passion for law enforcement. He saw early Christians as dangerous lunatics who messed with Sabbath, said that Messiah already came, and hosted weird musical house parties. He had official documents, paperwork from the high priest, giving him full authority to hunt down the followers of Jesus and drag them back in chains. Then, somewhere on the road to Damascus, blinding light, a voice from the sky, he collapses, he goes blind. For 3 days, he doesn't eat, he doesn't speak, and sees nothing. And when his sight returns, he's no longer Saul the enforcer, he's Paul the believer. The pivot is total, philosophical, existential, and logistical. He goes from persecuting the story to becoming its head of marketing. He starts writing letters to Galatians, Corinthians, Romans, basically a MailChimp campaign with massive reach. New converts wrote to him, "We're keeping kosher. We got circumcised. We're practically Jews now." And Paul writes back, politely, but basically yelling, "You missed the memo, that's not the product anymore." He says, circumcision, optional. Sabbath, cool if you like it. Kosher, nah. Pork, go for it. This wasn't just theology, it was UX design. And the collective sigh of relief, especially from the male audience, would probably be heard all the way to Jerusalem. He removed friction, cut onboarding time, made the message simple, made the product scalable. Paul did for Christianity what Starbucks recently did for coffee. He took something niche, ritualistic, and inconvenient and made it mainstream, personal, and available on every corner. Before Starbucks, coffee wasn't a lifestyle. Before Paul, faith was not a product. And here's why it still works. Paul understood something fundamental. People don't remember instructions. They remember only why. Not the rules, the promise. And the promise was bold and unforgettable. Eternal life, forgiveness, belonging, or, eternal damnation, still inclusive. Paul rewrote the pitch, redesigned the funnel, and localized the copy for the Greco-Roman market. The church called it divine guidance. Historians call it editorial dominance. The fastest pen, the cleanest speech, the most compelling vision, that's the one that survives. All the other versions, Gnostics, Marcionites, Montanites, got deleted, banned, or buried. What we call Christianity is the version that stuck. Now, why does any of this matter if you're a therapist, jewelry, real estate agent, or a burnt out manager reinventing your life? Because Paul did what you need to do. He took a messy, complicated spiritual idea and turned it into a clean, repeatable story. He didn't try to say everything. He said just enough for people to remember and repeat. Because if you don't tell your story, someone else will, and you may not like it. How is this applicable? If you are writing a resume, don't list everything you've ever done. Pick one axis, one direction. Make it read like a letter from Paul. Clear, structured, and impossible to ignore. If you're selling a service, don't explain every single feature. Tell us why you exist, what pain you solve, what your voice sounds like, why people feel clear and calm when they work with you. If you're building a brand, don't expect your logo to speak for you. Create structure, highlight essence, make sure someone can retell your story in their own words without losing the point. Because Christianity didn't win by being truer. It won because it was repeated. It was clear. It spoke people's language. It had structure. And if you think your story isn't strong enough, remember Paul. Initially, he had no visions, no miracles, no status, no credentials. He had a mind, a pen, and a voice. And that was enough to rewrite the story of the world. I'm Tatyana Voloshyn, and this is Unidelics Story Lab. Our next topic couldn't be more different from this one. We're discussing a soft romantic porn of a movie, The Idea of You. How can your career benefit from its soft cringe? You will learn soon.